Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Synced Up Design's Movement Basics. My name is Kyle, and in this video, we're going to be introducing 4 new jumps to our technique. Those jumps are going to be our chassés, sautés, assemblés, and Sissonnes. Before we get into the details of all of those jumps, if you could just take a quick second to like this video and subscribe to our channel, it'd really mean a lot to us. And if you want to stay up to date with anything we post in the future, go ahead and hit that bell icon as well. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's go learn these 4 new jumps. So like I said earlier, we're going to be working our chassés, sautés, assemblés, and Sissonnes, which are 4 new jumps that are really going to help expand our dynamic range when it comes to our movement technique. The cool thing about these jumps is that all of them have some sort of intricate footwork that's involved with it, especially when it comes to how we jump off our feet and how we land on our feet. For example, some of these jumps have you jumping off of 2 feet and landing on 1, while others may have you jump off of 1 and land on 2. So definitely really intricate footwork when it comes to these skill sets. When we go through this video, we're going to go through each jump and I'm going to give you a drill that you can do to help break down the footwork that goes behind each of the jumps, and then we'll put all that together to add the full jump and do it in context. We'll also go over specific arms that you'll see for each of the jump, at least the most common arms, and then we'll end off the video with some notes and things that you need to be thinking about as you're working all of the jumps. So the first jump that we're going to go over is going to be our chassé, which is a French term that translates to chase. Essentially what happens is your trailing foot is going to chase your leading foot in the mid-air while you're doing this jump. So we're going to start with our right foot behind and a B+ position to prep. This is going to be our leading foot when we go into the jump. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take that leading foot and we're going to step through into a 4th position plie. Reminder that every jump starts with the plie and ends with the plie, so this is super important. We're going to pass through that 4th position plie and then we're going to push off of the right foot, which is the initial initiation of that jump, and we're going to drag the trailing foot into a high 5th releve. This is that chase idea, that back foot chasing that front foot. From here, you're going to plie, putting all the way into the back foot as the right leg or the front leg dégages out to the front, and then you do a weight transfer to then put it back into the right foot. So essentially the drill itself is step through 4th, pull up to that 5th releve, and you're pulling up by pushing off the right, and then pulling back down into that back foot to dégagé and then weight transfer over. So essentially you're jumping off of that leading foot, landing off on the trailing foot, and then weight transferring over. And you can repeat it if you would like to. You can go step through, pull up, weight transfer through, and then repeat it again. When you feel comfortable with that, you can do it on the other side as well. Have that left foot prep behind, step through that 4th, pull up into the 5th position, find that plie dégagé, and then weight transfer again one more time. And that's going to be the drill of a chassé. When you want to put it all together, it's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is add a jump in the middle of the air. So you'll go step through, push up, jump, and then land on that back foot to weight transfer. So step up and then back down to finish that out. The only difference is that I pushed through the balls of my feet and engaged my full point to get off of the ground, finding that high 5th position, but with a full pointed foot. And then I found my toe ball heel plie landing out of it to finish that off. So again, working that drill that we just did, but adding the jump in between. So another detail about chassé specifically is you can do them both going to the front or going forward and to the side. You'll essentially do the same steps, but instead of working through that 4th position plie, you're actually going to work through that 2nd position plie, stepping out into that plie, dragging that trailing foot up into that 1st releve, transferring the weight to plie dégagé, and then land back onto that foot again to repeat as you need. You can do it on both sides, starting with the left foot behind to go plie, lift up, plie dégagé, weight transfer, and then when you feel good with both of those, you put them together to create the chassé. Again, you're jumping off of this leading foot, you're landing on the trailing foot, and then you weight transfer to repeat again if you would like to. So now let's go over the most common arms we're going to see for our chassé. When it comes to the forward chassé, the one that we will see most often is going to be our L arms. One arm out in front, one arm out to the side. Be careful that that arm out to the side is not pulled too far back to where you can't see it in your peripheral vision. You want it slightly in front so that way you're able to see both of your hands and make sure that you're not hyperextended in your shoulders. Whichever foot is in front leading in that chassé, the opposite arm is going to be in front for the L arms. So that way you create opposition between your leg and your arm, and you can keep your hips and your shoulders square. If I did same arm, same leg, we notice that my shoulders and my hips slightly open up to the 45. So we want to make sure we create that opposition to square us off. So if I do a right chassé, my L arms are with the left arm in front. And if I do a left chassé, it's the opposite arms. When it comes to the side chassé, it's a little bit easier. All you're gonna do is bring both of your arms out flat with the palms down to your second position for both right and left position, yeah? So just think flat arms for the side chassés and L arms for the forward chassés. The next jump we're going to cover is going to be a sauté, which is a jump that has you leaving off of one foot and landing on the same foot. So you're jumping off of one and landing on one, and the other leg is going to be in some sort of position. The most common position is going to be an arabesque, and it's going to hover in that arabesque for the entirety of the jump. Know though that you can do a sauté with your other foot in coupe or passe or attitude. It's just the idea of jumping off of one foot and landing on one foot. Although arabesque is the most common shaping, it's not the only shaping you can do for a sauté. Anyways, to work the drill of a sauté, we're gonna start with that right foot back. We're gonna step through into a plie position. We're gonna push up into a releve, letting this other leg lift up off the ground in an arabesque shaping pointed foot, pulling up into the releve of the base foot. When we get there, we're gonna reverse it and go back down onto the same foot while keeping that trailing foot in the air. So we can feel the sensation of stepping on one foot to go up on it and then landing on the one foot as opposed to 2 feet or switching which one you land on. So you go step, lift up, plie, and then you can repeat that if you'd like to. Again, when you feel comfortable, you can reverse it onto the other side, leading with that left foot, push up, find an arabesque with that back foot, and then go back down on the same foot. So that way you can feel the idea of going up and down on the one. And then once you feel good with all of that, all you have to do is add the jump, articulating through the toes, pushing out of your plie, and finding lift into the air so that way you can feel the sensation of that sauté. One small note about the sauté is you do want to think about pulsing ever so slightly in that base leg. So instead of just going up on the foot, you want to think about going up and out just a little bit and then landing on the same foot so you can really work through your flexibility in that, yeah? So just a little bit of energy in that, so that way you can feel the shaping, and then you land on the same foot to finish that out. Again, same thing on the other side, jump off, land, and that is gonna be the idea of a sauté. And then similar to a chassé, you can do your sautés in multiple directions, going reverse arabesque or going to the side, different things like that. Just know that the most common is going to be a forward sauté with the back foot in arabesque, although it's really just the idea of jumping off of one foot and landing on the same foot. That also means that the arms are going to be a little bit different depending on what sauté you do, but the most common arm you're gonna see for the forward sauté is gonna be the same as our chassés with the L shaping, opposition of the foot that is leading in the sauté. The next jump we're going to cover is going to be an Assemblé jump, which is a term that translates to assemble. Essentially what happens is you're going to jump off of one foot, your feet are going to meet mid-air, and then they're going to land together on 2 feet. So off of one and onto two. The drill that we're going to use to work through this is going to be kind of the step-by-step process of the Assemblé. We'll start with that left foot behind this time, change it up just a little bit so you can see me a little bit better. You're going to step through into that fourth position plie, and this is going to be the foot that you jump off of. The first thing you're going to do, however, is you're going to brush the right foot up into a dégagé shaping as you extend up through that base leg. And let's go ahead and take it all the way through to a releve so we can feel the idea of as you brush that leg, you are also pushing off of this foot right here. This one goes in the air and then you jump off of this foot right here. Once you feel that, you can bring that right foot back to meet with the left foot as you descend back into a first position plie. So you go push up, plie, into one foot, or sorry, into 2 feet. So off of 1, onto 2 as you finish that out. When you feel good with that drill, you can do it on the other side. Brush the left foot to go up, and then plie both of them together in that first position, plie. Now, the only thing is when you add the jump, you aren't gonna think about pulling the right foot back. You're actually gonna think about where the right foot is. The left foot is going to meet it in the air up there, and then they land together where the right foot was gonna go. So quick demo of that. I go plie up, land. So you notice that my left foot came to meet the right foot and then found the plie, which is gonna be a slightly different feeling from the drill that we just did. Doing the other side, we plie, brush up, land, and we find that first position plie at the end of that jump. So really just think, brush one foot to jump off of the other, and then meet them together in the air to land on both of them at the same time. So when it comes to an assemblé, you are able to land this position in a turned out first position as well as a parallel first position, which also means that your lead up into it can work in both of those shapings. Although that it may be different with the landing, the approach to the assemblé is still the same. You brush one leg to jump off the other, and then you land on them together after they meet in the air. So regardless of what position you land in, you still want to make sure that you're breaking down each of those steps as you go through this jump. When it comes to the arms of an assemblé, you're going to take whichever arm is the same as the brushing leg up to the upper 45. The opposite arm is going to go to the low 45, almost flat but not quite. Your face can follow the upper arm. From here, they're going to meet in the air, and then when they land together, you're going to bring your arms down to a low first position. So you go brush up, land, and that'll be the arms for your assemblé. Again, it can be different arms depending on what you're doing in choreography or whatever technique you're doing, but those are going to be the most common that you'll see for assemblés. The last jump that we're going to cover is going to be our Sissonne, which is actually the direct opposite of an assemblé. A Sissonne has you jumping off of 2 feet and then landing on 1 foot. So the drill that we're going to do with this is we'll start in a first position turned out. We're going to plie to initiate the jump, both of our legs, and then we're going to push up into the releve to simulate the idea of initiating the jump. From here, I'm going to weight transfer over to 1 foot, so up, weight transfer, and then I'm going to start to plie as the opposite foot lifts up into an arabesque shaping. So I go step up, and then weight transfer to plie, and that way I feel the sensation of going up on 2 feet and then landing on just the 1 foot while the other one suspends in the air. When I feel good with that drill, I can reverse it onto the other side, weight transfer, and then find that plie as the opposite leg extends out into that arabesque shaping. When you feel good with that idea, all you have to do is add the jump. Just make sure that when you go for the landing, then you scoop that base leg underneath and allow the opposite leg to lift up into that arabesque shaping. So you go plie up, land, and that'll be your Sissonne. From there, you really want to think about allowing your body to kind of motivate its energy over to that leg, so that way you can really feel out the idea that one leg is going to be the landing leg. Again, repeating it over on the other side to feel off that idea of the Sissonne. When it comes to the arms for our Sissonne, it's going to be the same as our Sautés and our Chassés. We're going to take an L-shaped arm that goes opposition of the leg that is the base leg or the front leg. So we jump up, and then my arms are going to extend out into that L-shaping, really on the landing. So I go jump up, land, and there's my L-shaping arm. So we can start in a low first to jump up and then push into that L-shaping on the landing itself. The direction I'm doing is scooping down and up to get there, but you can do a slice or other sorts of shapings, again, depending on what your instructor or choreographer may want, but we'll just keep it nice and simple for now. Now, as you get more comfortable with each of these jumps, I really want you to think about how you can kind of string them together into a sequence, because you are able to take each of these jumps in one linear step. You just have to be careful that you are aware of which foot you're stepping on and which one you're landing on. So you could start with the chassé and then step through to do a sauté, and then after that step through to do an assemblé Sissonne. Just know that all of them can be connected, but you want to be really cautious of how many steps you're taking in between, and be careful not to do a bunch of extra baby steps as you're going through it and really trying to minimize that. There really, at most, maybe would be 2 steps in between each jump as you try and string them together. And then the last thing I want to talk about is going to be a reminder of your upper body as you are working your lower body. Although the lower body is doing all the crazy jumps and weird footwork and stuff, we really want to be aware of what our upper body looks like. Specifically, just making sure that all of our head, shoulders, hips, and everything are stacked, our pelvis is tucked, and all the other things that we have discussed in previous videos. So really just make sure that even with arm shapings and different facings and stuff like that, you're still being very cautious of how your upper body looks while you're performing different skills. So just to recap everything we went over today, we talked about our chassés, sautés, assemblés, and Sissonnes. We first went over some drills that you can use to help break down all the steps of each jump, and then we put it together to execute the jump in context. We also went over some variations of a few of them, working like our side chassés, our back sautés, different things like that. And then we also made sure to establish specific arms for each of the jumps. After we got a full understanding of all 4 of those jumps, we moved into some other details, talking about how you can string them together into one linear phrase, just making sure not to take too many steps in between each jump as you're working through that. And then we also talked about making sure that our upper body is nice and stacked and has the right picture that we have talked about in previous videos while we are working our lower body. Anyways, that was our video for our chassés, sautés, assemblés, and Sissonnes. I know I am getting really excited about some of the things we're implementing in our technique, and I'm really looking forward to some of the things that we'll be working on later on in our series. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, and if you have any questions at all, the comment section is always open to you guys for that. Anyways, I'll see you on the next one, and happy dancing.